Lapras tanks the crunch and returns fire, full sending the ice beam. The question is, does the opponent respect the damage? Welcome back to the channel. I am super hyped today because my favourite battler, my Discord moderator, the one, the only XBoston, has submitted some insane spice for us in the Open Master League. Today's featured Pokemon is going to be PvPoke's 187th ranked pick, Shadow Lapras. Boston was fortunate enough to catch a 14-14-15 in Shadow Lapras. He's maxed this out all the way to level 51. And despite that, it's still sitting around 2900 CP. His stat product is around 6,000. To put that in comparison, something like Lugia has an over 10,000 stat product in the Master League. So you can already tell this thing is going to struggle to compete with the big boys. Well, at least on paper it looks like that. However, if you look at the Master League meta, it's full of dragons, it's full of flyers, and it's full of ground types. Stuff like Groudon, Landorus, Zygarde, Dragonite are all common, and Lapras, rocking his double legacy moveset of Ice Shard and Ice Beam, is going to catch some trainers sleeping. Boston, of course, loves his triple shadows, much like myself. He's running a full shadow team. We've got the Queen of Destruction, Shadow Gardavoir, and Shadow Gyarados. Without any further ado, let's get into the battle. And in game one, we do see a dragon in the lead, but certainly not the dragon we're looking for, as Palkia, due to its sub-water typing, only takes neutral from Ice. Boston farms up, looks to throw the Ice Beam, but loses CMP. Boston then looks to call the bait, and hashtag the opponent is not baiting. Lapras makes a very brief cameo appearance, and we send out Gyarados. In the Master League Premier, Gyarados reigns supreme. But in Open Master League, it's made to look very glassy, just the Dragon Breath and the Wristed Aqua Tail get us down to around a third health. The opponent then gives up switch, sending out the basic bitch tin can, and here comes the Queen of Destruction, Boston. Gonna shield at the Iron Head. We're gonna look for the charm down, farm down. We need 6 charms to secure the knockout, and we get the perfect farm down. Gardevoir now smelling blood in the water, back out. Comes Palkia, and Boston fires off the triple axle. Triple axle goes unshielded. We then get the charm down, farm down, and we're now ramped up our attack. The opponent saving both Protect Shield for their Groudon, but Groudon is not going to appreciate the triple axle. Triple axle forces the opponent's first Protect Shield, and we're now 2-stage boosted. Gardevoir absolutely running rampant. Fire Punch does secure the knockout, and we send out Gyarados. Boston fires off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail will of course be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Gyarados might be deep in the red, but these mud shots are double resisted. Boston looks to call the bait. No, we survived the Fire Punch. Boston, like an absolute savage, reaches the next Aqua Tail, and we're off to a 1-0 start. What a win! GG's, and thanks for playing, trainer. I was almost certain that we couldn't call a bait there, as I thought Fire Punch would knock out. I called Gyarados glassy, but Gyarados certainly showed me it's nowhere near as glassy as I thought it was. In the next battle, we see a much better lead. Boston correctly shields at the Precipice Blades. You will notice he was looking to switch out, however that catch will never be available if the opponent throws at good timing, which they did after 7 mud shots, as we'd still be stuck in the Ice Shard animation. Boston fires off the Surf, forcing a Protect Shield back, and then sends out Gary. Our Gyarados Say Switch is answered by a Pokemon I like to call Togepiss. I'm sure you've all seen this matchup numerous times in the recent Master League Premier. Nowhere near as bad for Gyarados as you might think, despite our non-stab Dragon Breaths hitting for double resisted. We're actually forcing the energy off the opponent, and now this is free farm for our Lapras. Togekiss does take us out with the Ancient Power. Boston sends back out Lapras. Lapras gets the Ice Shard farm down. Back out comes Groudon. It looks like we won CMP, however I think that's the game being shit and the opponent getting 1 turn bring-in. We're certainly going to take that as we force the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent full sends the Precipice Blades, and Boston putting all his hopes and dreams on the back of Gardevoir. Gardevoir not willing to shield the Fire Punch. A non-stab Fire Punch did far too much damage. Boston going to be forced to shield the second. However, as the opponent's staying in, they must be weak to charm in the back. The opponent sends out Rayquaza. Rayquaza is going to be very quickly straight in and straight out. Triple Axle, double super effective. Get that Rayquaza off my screen. And that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, Boston is the algorithm confirmed. Landorus takes double super effective from Ice, and just look at these Ice Shards chunk. The opponent fires off the Sancia Storm. Lapras shows very respectable bulk. And what the heck, the opponent also running some spice as out comes Gliscopod. Boston makes a very nice catch of what should be an X-Scissor onto Gyarados. It looks like after return of Master League Premier, more people have access to level 50 Pokemon, and I guess people are just using whatever they've got. I don't really know what Glissapod's hunting in the Master League. Does it even beat Mewtwo? I'm going to hazard a guess and say probably not. However, we do love Spice, so it's nice to see it on the screen. Gyarados forced to protection with a crunch, but then able to reach the Aqua Tail, and from this range, despite it being resisted, should secure the knockout. Actually isn't quite lethal, but we are able to Dragon Breath farm down the opponent, invest the Protect Shield, and they're still stuck in this piss poor matchup of Lapras versus Landorus. Back out comes Lapras. Lapras fires off the Surf. Surf goes unshielded, securing the knockout, and speaking of Mewtwo, out it comes. Boston throws 3 Ice Shards and the Surf for optimal fast move time. In 3 turn into 2 turn, of course, you want to throw out an odd number. Boston then banks the Surf, pivots into a 2-shield Gardevoir. Boston looking to call the bait like a savage. Boston! Oh my days. What a savage. Boston looking to 2-shield flex on this opponent. And we've already found ourselves in a shambolic position. Laughing after only 5 minutes, Boston fires off the Surf and manages the 2-shield flex. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see another Palkia in the lead. Luckily for us, this one isn't the Origin form, so they're going to have to build up all the way to a Draco to do any meaningful damage. I'm not sure on this bait from Boston, as we didn't have the energy for the Ice Beam. But what do I know, the opponent is going to shield anyway. The opponent is going to need to full send the Draco to secure the knockout. The opponent fire off the Aqua Tail, and Trainer, that just isn't going to get the job done. The opponent is now going to be forced to dump the remainder of energy. Boston happy to take shield advantage and send out Gyarados. Gyarados is going to be able to get the Dragon Breath farm down, but not before one further Aqua Tail. Despite the opponent only throwing resisted moves at our water types, Palkia has managed to take out almost 2 of our Pokemon. Gyarados leaves deep into the red, but with residual energy good to go. Out comes Xerneas. Xerneas instantly greeted by the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail does some solid chip damage, and here comes Gardevoir. Gardevoir's charms tearing through Xerneas. Boston going to commit a Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Moonblast, and out comes Landorus. Landorus certainly not going to appreciate this double super effective Triple Axel. Triple Axel forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Imagine we no-shield this as Charm. It's such a slow energy generation quick move that we're just going to get outpaced. Boston agrees. Tanking the Sancia Storm, and we force the opponent to throw again. This leaves Landorus in perfect farm down range for Gyarados. Back out comes Gyarados. Gyarados gets the Dragon Breath farm down. We leave with the Aqua Tail, and after the charm damage, Aqua Tail is going to be enough to secure the dub. Very well played. GG's. Heading into the next battle. Yikes, yikes, yikes. How do we beat Melmetal? I'll be honest, I think this thing can 1v3 our team. However, Boston loves to pull off some shenanigans, so we're going to see if he can make it work. I honestly think we need the opponent to have a heart attack to have any way of winning this battle. Boston fires off the Surf. Surf does absolutely nothing. The opponent return fire with the Rock Slide. The opponent already at the next Rock Slide. Oh fuck, this is so rough. Boston sends out Gyarados, then he's like, nah, we're just going to move swiftly on. And I couldn't agree more. Heading into the next battle. Okay, Giratina. Despite them having a huge stat product advantage, this isn't a bad matchup for us. Boston looking to call the ominous wind bait. The opponent full send the Shadow Ball, and again Lapras actually tanked that reasonably well. Boston looking to full send the Ice Beam. Ice Beam goes unshielded, leaving Giratina in thread. Can we get the Ice Shard farm down? Ooh, this looks like such a close loss in the Zero Shield. But pretty decent, to be honest. Boston can send out Gyarados. 1 Dragon Breath does secure the knockout. Lapras putting in work so far. I'll be honest, pretty impressed for something sub 3000 CP. The opponent answers our Gyarados with a Mud Slap Rhyperior. What the heck do you have in the back, Trainer? If it's a dragon, you may as well top left as Gardevoir is chomping a bit. The opponent doesn't shield the Aqua Tail, then send out Chandelure. Holy moly, people in the 2300s are rocking some insane spice. Heading into the next battle. The spice is put on hold as out comes Landorus, but Landorus doesn't appreciate Lapras. The opponent say switches into Palkia, and we answer with Gyarados. Looks like Boston's looking to call the bait. Last second, we invest a Protect Shield, and oof, that is a very good shield, as the opponent would have knocked us out with the Spatial Run. Boston then farms up, fires off the Aqua Tail at a range that even double resisted. It will secure the knockout. The opponent can't send back out Landorus, as they're going to be forced to eat super effective charge moves. The opponent reveals their third, which is the basic bitch tin can. We fire off the crunch, lands some solid chip damage, and we have the perfect alignment as here comes Gardevoir. Looks like Boston attempted to catch an Iron Head onto Lapras. The opponent then goes for the U switch, I switch. For some reason, switch locking Landorus against Lapras. Absolutely fine with us. I've got no idea why they'd do that, but we're not going to complain. Clearly I've been watching too much Callum on Toast. It's absolutely fine with us. It's definitely something you'll hear on his channel, whereas I'm normally a lot more offensive. I think what I'd normally say is the opponent switches like an absolute potato. Boston, looking to capitalise on the opponent's strange play, sends out Gardevoir. We can't afford to shield at the Sancia Storm. Sancia Storm won't be lethal. However, can the opponent mud shot and double resisted Dragon Breath farm down? Back out comes Dialga. The opponent makes a mistake, throwing a charge when we got a Protect Shield. Boston shields at the Iron Head. We reached the triple axle. Looks like Boston was looking for the charm down, farm down, got scared, fired off the triple axle, but regardless, we're going to pick up the dub. GG's and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we lead Lapras into the Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death Master League Edition. So of course 3 turn into 5 turn. Ideally you want to throw after 3 quick moves, which is impossible as our cheapest charge move cost 4. Boston shields at the Sacred Fire. Then it looks like we're going to opt to 1 and throw, and then 1 and throw again, which also isn't the worst time and is suboptimal as you give away 2 free turns. The first surf forces a Protect Shield, the second surf goes unshielded, and to be honest doesn't do much because Ho-Oh is incredibly thick. I think we've got no choice but to let Lapras go. Lapras put up a decent fight, but unable to beat Ho-Oh in the 1 shield. Boston then sends out Gary. The opponent not wanting to give us free farm, pivot into Dialga, and here comes the Queen of Destruction. Boston a little bit slow on the switch there. It's going to take 18 Dragon Breaths to Iron Head, so we're going to need 6 charms. Look out, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, Boston shows huge cojones committing to that farm down. The opponent actually died at the next Iron Head. Back out comes Ho-Oh. Boston fires off 1 charm and the triple axle, not only vamping up his attack, but that also means that Incinerate does not register. The opponent's final Pokemon is Zekrom, and I think Gardevoir, despite being in the red, is going to sweep this team. Look at these boosted charms. Gardevoir runs rampant, and Boston picks up the dub. In the next battle, we see the ever-annoying Zygarde against Lapras. It looks like the opponent lagged a bit, but they probably deserve it because they're using basic bitch top meta. Boston looking to capitalise on Niantic's crappy game, fires off the surf, forcing a Protect Shield. Zygarde insanely bulky, so we should survive any one move. The opponent fire off the crunch, we withstand the damage, and this time Boston full sends the Ice Beam, does the opponent. Respect the damage, get that Zygarde off my screen. The opponent fucked about, and they found out. Out comes Mewtwo. Boston happy to stay in, and I imagine we just let Lapras go down. Lapras, thank you very much for your contribution. We could come in with either Pokemon, to be honest. Boston opts to send out Gardevoir, and Shadow Crime. These charms are doing absurd damage. Boston gonna respect the potential Shadow Ball the opponent baits with the Side Strike. This is only a Side Strike, but Shadow probably does like 65%. Boston happy to 2-shield Gardevoir, perhaps calling a dragon in the back. That certainly isn't a dragon, and that could be a problem if they got Thunder. Let's see. Boston fires off the triple axle, then looks to catch a surf onto Gyarados. Oh fuck, are we about to get thundered? Moment of truth time. The opponent doesn't have Thunder. They fire off the Origin Pulse, which actually did a lot of resisted damage. Boston then able to get the Dragon Breath farm down, and we take that game. Heading into some bonus battles, with, dare I say it, an even squishier team, Gyarados has been benched in favour of a level 50 Shadow Gengar. We see a great lead. It's interesting that the opponent's staying in, which must mean they're double weak to ice. Boston tanks the Sancia Storm, returns fire with the Surf. Surf isn't lethal, but we do manage the Ice Shard farm down. The opponent sends out Dialga, we pivot into Gengar, and out comes Zygarde. Holy moly, Gengar, where is your defense stat? Gengar might be smiling away, but it certainly isn't happy in this matchup. Holy crap, that Shadow Punch I think actually healed Zygarde. Unfortunately, we don't have Shadow Ball. The opponent tanks both Shadow Punches, commit to the full Dragon Tail farm down. Boston now sends out Lapras, and I assume we use it as the damage sponge. The opponent full send an Earthquake, but hi trainer, meet Gardevoir. Gardevoir comes in. Gardevoir gets the full tap charm down, farm down, and is saying feed me that Dialga. The opponent wants that work, and Gardevoir's about to give it to him. Boston fires off the triple axle, not only forcing a Protect Shield, but vamping up our attack. Trainer, just top left, this is over. The opponent's going to need to reach 3 Iron Heads. We've got 2 Protect Shields. Trainer, that isn't happening. The opponent isn't even going to reach the second, and Boston picks up essentially a very easy dub. GG's. In the next battle, what a lead! The opponent switch out a Dragonite into Excadrill that also doesn't have a particularly good matchup against Lapras. Despite us being 2900 CP, Excadrill insanely glassy, and the opponent is forced to respect the serve. I imagine when this opponent was playing Boston, they probably cursed the algorithm thinking, This must be a bot. Who runs Lapras? Boston, happy to shield at the next rock side. We can then throw 3 Ice Shards and the Surf, maximising their energy. Yes, Boston, beautiful overfarm. This is 1 turn before the opponent reaches the next rock side. Lapras does win in the 1 shield. Lapras putting in so much work. This should be a pretty easy team read. It's probably Dragonite Double Steel with Metagross in the back. This is the most common non-legendary team for the Open Master League, and Boston has pretty much triple hard counters. We're just going to line Gengar against Metagross. When the opponent pivots, we're going to send out Gardevoir, and I imagine the opponent's going to top left. Or not. Trainer, this is over. The opponent fires off the superpower, which does absolutely nothing. If I was Boston, I would have actually let the opponent get me a bit lower. But essentially, it does not matter, as Boston is going to be able to reach the triple axle. I don't really think there's any way of the opponent winning. They look to call the bait. The opponent does manage to get the Bullet Punch farm down, but they're going to need to reach 2 charge moves. They're not doubled up, so Boston is going to shield at the first Meteor Mash, Shadow Claw farm down, and we're going to take that game. In the next battle, we see Lapras into Mewtwo. We see the instant pivot into Gengar. Holy crap, Psycho Cut actually doing more than Shadow Claw. Gengar, Yuta are so glassy, it is ridiculous. The opponent actually full send a Shadow Ball, which is massively uncalled for. Perhaps they don't have Side Strike. The opponent even then gets taken out by the Shadow Punch. Gengar looking very happy, taking out Mewtwo. Out comes Landorus. The opponent is going to be able to Mud Shot farm down, but not before the next Shadow Punch. Gengar actually putting in a lot of work this time. What is going on? Where else are you going to see this madness in the Master League? Boston can now send out Lapras. Lapras very comfortable in this matchup, especially when the opponent isn't instant throwing Andy. If the opponent instant throwed, I think that's an easy Sancia Storm call. If the opponent would have actually thrown 1 Mud Shot, perhaps they could have forced Boston's shield, bait and a Stone Edge. The opponent sends out Zacian. Boston banks a boatload of energy, sends out Gardevoir. The opponent lowers their own defense, throwing the Wild Charge. And these charms have got the opponent deep into the red. The opponent fires off yet another Wild Charge. Boston now sends out Lapras. Lapras going to go for the 1 shield. Ice Shard farm all the way down. And we should lead with a double surf. So you know the drill. The first surf will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. And the second surf is going to be all she wrote, with Lapras picking up the dub. GG's and thanks for playing. Unfortunately, heading into the final battle of today's video, huge shout out to XBoston. This has been a lot of fun. I love Master League, and especially when people send me these spicy battle submissions. We see Lapras into Gyarados, a matchup you'd probably more commonly see in the Open Ultra League, but this is Master League. The opponent fires off the crunch again. Lapras shows very respectable bulk. Boston going for a very risky surf bait. The opponent, oof, call it as well. Boston, I'm going to have to send you to therapy for this masturbating habit. You just killed a poor defenseless cat. Lapras fires off the next surf though. We then get the snipe with Gardevoir. So a nice play, Boston. I'll let you off, buddy. The opponent answers our Gardevoir safe switch with Groudon. The opponent makes a huge mistake not farming up to a Precipice Blade, making Boston's shielding decision very easy to no shield. Looks like the opponent opting to go straight Fire Punch all the way. Boston going to shield at the first Fire Punch, knowing he's going to either force a Protect Shield back or potentially knock out with the Triple Axle. Triple Axle does indeed force that protection, and these boosted charms are now tearing through Groudon. Boston actually going all in on Gardevoir despite being in the red, but why not? Show me a dragon. The opponent doesn't have a dragon, but they do have something offering very little fast move pressure in the form of Psycho Cut Mewtwo. Boston fires off the Triple Axle, forcing the opponent's final protection, then make a very nice Side Strike catch back onto Lapras. Boston now sends out Gengar. Gengar actually able to reach the Shadow Punch. I've got no idea why the opponent didn't throw on CMP, but Boston is going to pick up the dub. GG's and thanks for playing. Huge shout out to my good friend XBoston, one of the nicest members in the community and without a doubt my favourite battler because his spicy battles are incredible. Apologies to everyone for the numerous times I started laughing in this video, but sometimes it's so hard to keep myself together when I'm shoutcasting some of these crazy battles. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to the battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.